Good evening. How are you? I am Kamau Kujichagulia, and this is On the Case with Kamau Kujichagulia, where each week we try to bring you someone of interest from the Trenton area, talking about what they're doing in the community, whether it be in Trenton or Mercer or New Jersey or the nation or around the world. This week we're supposed to have Tahir Johnson, who is a young man who's doing excellent work. He's doing cannabis. He's opening up a cannabis store in Ewing on Olden Avenue, where slipped my mind right now. There's a bar that I always wanted to go to, but right across from Capitol Plaza. Joe's. What's the name of it? Joe's something? Joe's? I don't know. Anyway, I'm locking up. He doesn't seem to have made it, but I just wanted to take the time to say a few things about what's going on in my world. And my world is, I'm looking at what's going on around the world, like in Africa and in China, of course, and Russia. So, there are things that we need to, I don't know whether we need to, but I need to concentrate on. And I've been doing a lot of research lately. The great nations, Burkina Faso, oh my God, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, is it? Faso? Anyway, which had coups of their Western leaning governments during the past few months and years. They're standing strong against pressure from especially France. So that's always a good thing. The ECOWAS, which is the economic development wing of West Africa. They had threatened to invade Niger because of their coup, but that was about a month ago, and so far they haven't done it. So it's important that we start getting out of the underneath for the influence of basically white supremacy. And in the past, to have done that meant that you were going to run headlong into the economic power of America, which was going to cut you off from everything, make your people suffer, and do all these dastardly things to you for wanting to control your own destiny. But now, because China has become such a player, if America, when America cuts these other countries off now, China is there to lend a hand. China is, and so is Russia, and so is India. India is a weird bird right now, because India, I tell you, India, from my experience with India and Indians, and I haven't been in India, is that India has a system in place which is I think would actually be worse than the system of white supremacy if it were universal as opposed to just being national. they have a caste system, which is ugly. I mean, really ugly. I saw my brother Tracy come on asking about Tahir. We're waiting for Tahir to come on, man. So if he does come on, hey man, we got to get over the Bookers. I've been trying to get over the Bookers, and I'm coming. Don't worry about it. And we want to get you on the show so that you and your lovely wife can tell us about this endeavor that you're in. But we're waiting for Tahir to see if he does come on. So let me get back to where I was. Of course, like this, it's hard for me to go back to where I was. I forget things. Talking about the African brothers and sisters who have taken over in their government and want to run their countries the way they want to run their countries. And they can do that now because of having backing from somewhere other than the system of white supremacy, America and European Union. Well, they can now turn to China. They can now turn to Russia, which again, I'm a bit shaky about Russia. But it's good. It's good. It's good. And slowly but surely, African countries are beginning or continuing to look at each other and becoming united so that they can start tearing down some of these barriers, some of these artificial barriers, and lead to a unified nation. Imagine Africa as a unified nation. We got to have Algeria, which is one of the above the Sahara Desert, and Algeria is defending their brothers to the south. And that's something that I didn't expect. And I don't know why, because Libya, when we had Colonel Gaddafi, was always defending brothers from the sub-Saharan Africa. But it seems like now the South nations, which constitute Black nations, brown nations, yellow nations, red nations, are coming together and are joining up and seeing for themselves, because they've all experienced the same thing from other nations, from the system of white supremacy. They've all experienced the same thing. So they're finally beginning to break away from that stranglehold. I see. I saw that my brother Tahir Johnson had come on. There he is. He's back in the getting ready. He's almost ready. Here, let me bring him on. Tahir, how you doing?
Baba Kamau, how you doing? Good to see you.
It's good to be with you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Wow. I was talking about the some of our African brothers and sisters who are trying to break away from the stranglehold that the system of white supremacy has had on them for so many years. So I have to shift a little bit. I don't know. I'm not in my regular studio tonight, so there may be all kinds of problems. But anyway, we can get through this. How are you?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. It's a blessed day, man. It's good to be home. Good to be here with you, man. I grew up on the Nubian news, so it's a pleasure and an honor to get to be one of your guests, man.
Yes, sir. Now, what you're doing is, tell us what you're doing.
All right. So for those that don't know, my name is Tahir Johnson. I'm the founder and CEO of Simply Pure Trenton. We're an adult use cannabis dispensary located here in Ewing, New Jersey, and I'm hoping to be open by the end of the year. Working through all of the let's just say hurdles you have to do to get open, but it's been a great experience. I was born and raised here in this town. I left and went to college at Howard University a little over 20 years ago, telling my age, but just to get to come back home and open a business here, be back with my family, be able to create jobs. It's all been a blessing, especially because, I don't have to tell you, you've seen it with your own eyes. Our whole life, everything we've been through, with weed, from getting arrested, locked up, all types of stuff, and they'll be able to build a legitimate business on it and be an example of, a young entrepreneur and what some of our people can achieve, especially in something that's so cutting edge, still federally illegal, right? Like it's, for me, it's, I look at it and I think of it as the way we were raised and everything we saw. And I've always considered my work in the cannabis industry to really be an extension of everything I've learned or what we've seen from the civil rights movement. Because I think of this being like probably one of the greatest civil rights issues of our lifetime. You know how many Black people have been locked up behind this, like have not been able to get financial aid or opportunities because of this. So for me, working on legalizing cannabis and now having a business in this industry has really been my, it's been what I've been working towards for years now. So I'm thankful to get to have this opportunity.
So now you're going to be opening it up on Olden Avenue, right?
Olden Avenue, 1531 North Olden Avenue, big orange building. I know this was last a Metro PCS right here. But I mean, this building has been so many things over the years. I know my grandmother used to get her nails done in this building when I was a kid. And like right next door, actually, where my parking lot is what used to be Stevie T's, the club.
Okay.
So I know everybody knows that landmark.
Yeah. I was trying to think of it.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're going to be a distributor. What does that mean? I mean, a legal distributor of marijuana?
Yes.
Or should we say cannabis?
Yeah, the name. So of course, and that's a good place to start. Now you people hear so many different things, right? Marijuana, cannabis. What is hemp? Like when it comes down to it, it's really all the same plant, right? The marijuana, that name in itself was one that really took on probably about 50 years ago with the beginning of the war on drugs. And that term marijuana was one that they started using intentionally with racial connotations because they wanted to scare people and say, oh, like the Mexican people are coming here and they're smoking this marijuana, right? And even Black people, right? Like there were actually quotes from Harry Anslinger, who was the head of the DEA, and like there was this whole agenda, right? Like weed makes darkies think they're better than white men, or think, all types of things like that. So even the whole idea of like marijuana was part of the fear tactic of the war on drugs, and cannabis was the original term, of what it was, previously. So now you have this distinction between like intoxicating, not intoxicating, like the hemp side, but it's really just artificial, like a designation that man created. It's all one plant. So that was a long way to go back and say, yes, like it's, I have a legal license to open a retail cannabis store here. So we will have all types of products from, flower, like everybody knows, to edibles, to vapes, to tinctures, really every type of product that they allow us to sell on the open legal market in New Jersey, and every state is different. But yes, I have the license to legally sell marijuana here in New Jersey.
Those words haven't been spoken like that, and I don't know when.
I know, right? It still feels crazy for me even saying it, to be honest.
Yeah,
real.
And you got your license because of the arrest and the harassments that you went through, right? That was one of the reasons.
Yes. So here in New Jersey, part of some of the things they did to give priority was folks that the first way to qualify was being a social equity applicant. And so there were two ways to qualify as a social equity applicant. One was if you were from one of the economically disadvantaged zip codes, like the zip codes that had the income that was much less than the like the average state income. But then the other was having previous cannabis charges. And over my lifetime, I've been lucky enough to get 3 of those. You know, right? It was the thing before that we was all trying to hide. You know,
Right,
you don't
right.
to know about, right? But now it's like this what got me my advantage. But you know, it's the one of the ways that I always try to frame it. I think people always look at the statistics and they think of it like, right. I think right now we're at a place in time where there's this connotation, this conversation about, let's just say, affirmative action, for example, right? And people acting like it's negative, like we don't deserve, you know, a hand up in certain instances. But the one reason I think this is different is because, like, this isn't just somebody's, like, I mean, this is something that a lot of people went to jail over, right? So I think that it's only right that if now we're going to say something is legal, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Last year in this country, there was $26 billion worth of legal weed sold. And Black people are 4 times more likely to be arrested for cannabis. So with that being said, it should only be right that those same people have an opportunity to now take part in this legal industry. And that's now, you know, that's what my work has been really all about. And then, like I said, now being able to be here. And I think in our case, growing up in Trenton, so the priority, there were 3 things. The first was social equity. The second was having a minority, woman-owned or disabled veteran-owned business. So my business is a New Jersey certified minority business enterprise. So that gave me another level of priority. And then the third, last but not least, was that the city of Trenton and Ewing, kind of both places where I lived and grew up, were considered impact zones. And the impact zone are the places that have been identified to have the highest disparate concentration of policing over cannabis. And so one of the things that I always think about, I think it's easy to say those statistics, right? Say billions of dollars and say 4 times more likely. But I think putting a real face to, like, what does that mean when you talk about this level that Black people are getting locked up? Like, I mean, I know for me, it was like us growing up, you get real PTSD from that, right? Like, imagine, like, I know every time we walked outside, my mom and dad would be worried, you know, something would happen. And so, and even in my case, like when I left for college, my mom was like, I got one of y'all out of here. You ain't never coming back. So that's what it's always been for me. And like I said, I know you've been like, I mean, your son's been one of my best friends my whole life. So, I mean, we've been in some of those experiences together. Like, I'll never forget, like when I was actually in college at Howard one time and came home, and like we got pulled over, and I think it was for like seeds in the car, like a roach or something like that. Alan took the charge for me. You know what I mean? And Alan and my brother, I think, both got weed charges that day because people were looking at me and like, you know, hey, you know, you got a chance, like you're doing this. And like, because I was the one, it was actually my car, right? Like I'm the one driving, you know, so it's like thinking, imagine like just going through life where you like, you're even having a situation that somebody's like, well, somebody got to take, like, that's not normal. You know what I mean? For us to have to grow up in those type of regards. So I'm thankful that now I get to even have this opportunity, and like everything's flipped upside down from what it was, but it's a real responsibility to, like I said, I feel thankful and blessed to be able to have it, because I know that there were so many others that came through a similar situation what I did that didn't get blessed to have the opportunities that I did. So I'm always trying to continue to open the door up for others and just keep giving back.
Okay. Now are there still people in jail because of marijuana?
So even as of today, there's over 40,000 people still incarcerated for cannabis today. You have a number of states that have now legalized cannabis on a state level. I think we're up to like 38 now in DC that are like medical, and probably like 18 or 19 states that are recreational. But if you think about anywhere else, right? Like, and you can still get, like on the books, you can still get life in jail in Texas, right, for weed. So it's like in different places they have different laws. And so right now, even though states have legalized, it's still federally illegal, Schedule 1 drug. And that's actually been an interesting conversation that's been happening this week, because President Biden ordered the Department of Health and Human Services to review cannabis. A Schedule 1 drug means that it has no medical value, and highly addictive. So right now, cannabis sits as a Schedule 1 drug, like the same as heroin, methamphetamine, stuff like that. So now they're having a conversation where they've recommended that it be moved to Schedule 3. And with Schedule 3, then it would be more similar to like Tylenol with codeine and things like that. But even the idea that we're going to try to act like, a plant, something that we know is harmful, isn't harmful, is the same as like heroin. Like we know that we now have the information, the data to know that that's a lie. So, I think that it is good that things are moving in the right direction, but also at the same time, that change, the Schedule 3 wouldn't release anybody from jail for cannabis. So we're seeing some progress on some fronts, but on others, it's still really the same as it's always been. And depending on where you are, right? Like here in New Jersey, we're protected and don't have to worry about being arrested or going to jail for weed. But there's still, let's just say, almost 20 states, where you can. So, and in many of those cases, same as us when we were growing up, just the smell of marijuana is enough for a reasonable suspicion for you to be searched. So think about how many times, like not only the weed charges, but how many times is that used as an excuse to pull a black person over or do something because I smell weed, and now they're searching you for guns or anything else, right? So
okay. I know that soon there is going to be a cannabis convention down in Atlantic City.
There is this weekend, a big one. I'm on my way there tomorrow. It should be a good day. I actually was given a table to be an exhibitor. My good friends, these brothers, they have an organization called the Minority Cannabis Academy. And so they gave me and a bunch of other folks tables, so we'll be exhibiting. So I'm looking forward to this weekend in Atlantic City.
Okay, so when you say exhibit, what will you actually be exhibiting?
Well, in my case, I can't give out any products or anything yet, but
you can't yet.
I've got all types of little giveaways, grinders and reusable shopping bags and air fresheners and merchandise, branded merchandise that people can have. So
you can't sell it even with unless you have the shop.
Yep, yeah. The only place where we can sell it is actually in the store. I'll tell you, they treat they treat this stuff like it's radioactive, man. That's where it is. And the interesting thing, so like New York actually they actually have cannabis like farmers markets, and it just started. It just started this summer, and they're the first place in the country to have anything like that. Anywhere else, like you have to walk into the dispensary, and this is probably the most highly regulated industry that you could be in. The way that they make you distribute cannabis, you would think that I was like I said, distributing nuclear chemicals.
Okay, now being a Schedule 1, I hear that the banking industry can't really use the banking industry. What's that about?
Yes, so because cannabis is a federally a Schedule 1 drug, with cannabis being, with it making it federally illegal, you don't have access to any to most mainstream banks, because those banks are federally chartered. So what you have is there's not largely like banking isn't largely available to cannabis. Now there are some banks that do offer services to cannabis, but they tend to be smaller regional banks or like credit unions that still want to take the risk on. But you'll never go into, like, as a matter of fact, Bank of America shut my account down that I had that I was using before I opened up my account. But You'll never see like the Bank of America, the Wells Fargo, the PNCs of the world, because cannabis is federally illegal. They don't touch it. But the challenge that it makes is on more than one thing, right? Like part of the challenge that arises from that is it's difficult to do any business if you can't have a bank account, because you got to,
Right.
you got to pay people, your employees, your vendors, pay taxes, all this types of stuff. I've heard stories of people that have had to pay tax bills that were hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. So it's like you're going up to the tax office with bags of cash to pay that. It's also a risk in the sense of, I mean, cannabis is just something that's coming out of the, underground market for years ago. So, I mean, just doing a business with that much cash and any type of business puts you at a risk for people that want to, take it, right? And then the other part of that is not only does it make it difficult to do business, but the real challenge in the way it impacts our people is if you want to get into the industry, there's no small business loan to help you do it. So because you can't go to a bank to get a loan to get into the industry, you either have to have personal wealth or access to some private equity. And so with Black people already having negative net worth, and like the 1/10 of our counterparts, if it costs $1 million to get into the industry, then, and you don't have access to the money yourself or the capital to get it, well, then that creates more of a disadvantage and a harder path, even harder path for our people to get into the industry because there's no money. Okay.
Well, brother, I have to cut this short this evening because I have another appointment after this. So, but it's been good speaking with you. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you, and we appreciate your hard work in getting this done. Because it's good to have especially a young brother that I know.
Thank you.
That is doing something. You know that, Tahir, because I love your mom and your dad. How's your grandmom doing?
She's good, man. She had to go to the hospital. We had a little scare today. She's 91 years old. She had she was like in stroke danger. For me, I just want to get to the finish line and have her be able to see me accomplish this and get open. So that's what I'm praying for. And like I said, I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful to be back here. Like it's nothing like having the love of people that really know you, right? Like I guess I remember that Cheers, you want to go where people know your name. And I've been going for 20 years out here trying to make this path. And so it really is. It's nothing like being able to come back home and see these friendly faces, people you know and you love. So thank you again for having me.
Well, I can tell you about from us older folks that we're very, very proud of what you've done. Okay?
Thank you.
So thank you for being with us, brother. Appreciate it very much.
You know it.
Take care. All righty.
Yep. Bye.
Peace. Man, that's exciting to have a young man like that who has reached out, grabbed hold of that brass ring, and is pulling it towards him right now. So in a couple of months, we're going to have our own cannabis shop for those of y'all who like cannabis. I'm still not into that, but that's because I burned my head out long time ago. not that I have anything had anything again, but I burned my head out, because I didn't know how to act. So anyway, I've appreciated it. I loved having you with us this evening. I'm glad that Tahir did come on, and we're going to say goodnight and see you again next week, next Thursday at 8 o'clock. But remember, before we go, if you do not understand the system of white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, then everything that you do know will only confuse you. Good night. Love you.